Raise your hand if the questions, who are you, what do you want to be when you grow up, and what do you hope to achieve in life, immediately inflict a sense of fear inside you. Okay. Now, let's rewind. I'd like you to think back to the very first time you remember being asked these questions. For most of us, it would probably be sometime during primary school, where we would have had to summarize ourselves in 3 words during a self-introduction to a new class, or we would have had to write a few sentences to our teacher briefly explaining what we thought our future careers would be. Obviously, at age 5, people aren't expecting you to give serious thought to these questions. Most of the time, they're just looking for some cute answer, like, I want to be an astronaut. For the record, if you still want to be an astronaut, I'm totally rooting for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But as we grow older, these questions begin to become things we might start losing sleep over. Now, I'm not here today to tell you how to live the perfect life because, frankly, I think perfectionism is overrated. I'm here simply as a friendly reminder, encouraging you to live your most authentic and happy life, because authentic happiness and total well-being are our natural birthrights. Know who you are and what you want. Easier said than done, I know. But by truly understanding yourself and what you hope to achieve in life, you'll make things so much easier because you can then go about figuring out how to reach your goals. Having a clear purpose and a sense of clarity can be really powerful. Some of us here may still not know what we want from life, and that's completely fine. It's unrealistic to expect everyone to be at the same stage of personal development anyway. But I'm going to introduce 3 steps that will hopefully help you gain a little insight into who you really are. Now, trust me, these are not revolutionary ideas. You've definitely heard them before, but sometimes you just need a nudge in the right direction. Now, I'm sure you've all heard the quote, live, learn, love. Cheesy, I know, but it might just be the answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch it around a little bit. We're going to make it learn, love, live. Learn who you are, love who you are, and live who you are. It's as simple as that. Firstly, learn who you are. When asked the question, who are you? Many of us just automatically answer with our name, age, ethnicity, job. This is because our concept of self is often quite weak, a result of programming from a young age. We are conditioned to define ourselves based on our greatest achievements, like our grades, for example. In order to see the real you and not just the product of programming, you have to look inwards. Your genetic makeup is just a starting point. Answering the question, who am I, can be quite challenging because our identities aren't very persistent. We are made up of constantly changing parts. So, which you is who and when is am? That is up to you to decide. Dare to explore, reflect, and question your identity. Only then can you discover your own true potential, and there are endless possibilities. Some people may think you're being eccentric, but really, you're just being authentic. Authenticity. That's a very important word, and I'm going to keep repeating it until it's embedded in your minds. Once you've taken your life into your own hands and decided what it is that defines you, hold on to it. Always be aware of who you truly are and love yourself, flaws and all. Love who you are. I know it's hard to be content with yourself all the time, especially in a society that preys on our insecurities and amplifies our imperfections. But if you never truly embrace yourself, you'd be fighting a losing battle. It would be like trying to scale the same mountain over and over again, never quite reaching the top. This never-ending struggle is exactly what the ancient Greeks thought to be hell. Some of you might know the story of the ancient Greek king Sisyphus, who was punished with the task of pushing an enormous boulder up a hill only for it to come rolling back down again just before he reached the top. Now, if you do not love yourself in your entirety, you'd be condemning yourself to the same futility and despair. Sometimes the biggest obstacles in life are our own doubts and our own fears. Here, self-compassion is of paramount importance. Allow yourself to make mistakes and embrace your failures. You never know. Hitting rock bottom might just be a blessing in disguise. It could propel you to new heights of self-expression and acceptance. A large level of our success, happiness, and health are dictated by how we perceive ourselves. Last, but definitely not least, live who you are. When you were a kid, you were fantastic at being yourself because you didn't feel the need to disguise your differentness. Somewhere along the line, something goes wrong. We start to become self-conscious and we care about what other people think of us. Most of us would, in a way, start to lose ourselves around the age of 7. Paralyzed by the fear of not fitting in, we change aspects of our behavior just to be perceived as normal. Some people like to think that they are immune to this need for acceptance, but approval addiction is a very serious issue. Social psychologist Solomon Asch conducted a study looking at the effect of normative social influence on compliance. Now, I'll just briefly explain for those of you who don't do psychology. Compliance is when you adopt the views and beliefs of other people, even if you don't necessarily agree with them. This is usually due to normative social influence, which in simple terms is the desire to be accepted. Now, in Asch's study, 75% of his participants gave the wrong answer on at least one of the trials, and this was an unambiguous task, so the right answer was obvious. But 75% still chose to give the wrong answer and go along with the rest of the group simply because they didn't want to be seen as the odd one out. So why are people so afraid to be different? Well, if you deviate from social norms, you're considered to be abnormal. To avoid being labeled as such, many people choose to comply with the norms thrust upon them, causing them to lose sight of and compromise who they really are. We embrace the ideas of our peers and maybe even more so of our parents because we seek their approval. But by constantly taking on hopes and beliefs of other people, we could easily fall into a trap. If we are coerced to be something we are not, or forced to pursue dreams that are not our own, there can be serious consequences. Studies show that denied self-expression has a very strong correlation with mental disorders such as depression. In order to have good mental health, self-actualization is encouraged. This is basically the realization and fulfillment of one's true potential. So if we're so busy living out other people's version of the best life, how will we ever achieve self-actualization? I think it's important to change the outlook of society and create a more accepting world. Looking back on our history, we have definitely come a long way, but socially prescribed perfectionism is still a prominent issue. The expectation to be perfect and the unrelenting need to meet these expectations are lowering life expectancies by a great deal. A study conducted by Brock University in Canada looked at the effect of social pressures on health. They studied over 500 Canadian adults aged 24 to 35 and found that those more affected by socially prescribed perfectionism had more health problems. The University of Minnesota found that psychosocial stress shortened the lifespan of mice by a great deal, supporting the idea that social pressures have a negative impact on our health. It is therefore important to change the belief of society. It's a monumental task, I know, but by educating people and raising awareness about the negative effect of social stigmas, we can start to make a difference. Let's aim to create a more accepting and less delusional world. You have far more power over your own well-being and your impact in life than you give yourself credit for. Sure, you can choose to conform. It's definitely more convenient and more comfortable. But you only have so long to live, so why not live it to your fullest potential? Learn, love, live. That's what I want you to take away from this talk. I hope you live your most authentic life and that you are truly happy. Thank you.